Alright guys, ShoddyT here with another Alliance War video. Happy Valentine's Day. I don't think I mentioned that in the first two videos. By the time you watch this, it'll probably be midnight or February the 15th to be specific. But in honor of Valentine's Day, obviously this war took place well before Valentine's Day. But this one is going to be all about the ladies. So it just turns out that my path, I probably could have brought other alternatives for certain fights, but I figured, hey, we ranked 5 Medusa during the off season. I don't think we've ever brought her to Alliance War prior to today. We used to bring Quake quite a bit when before Stubborn became a thing. I used her a lot in the Flow Wars when that was the main tactic. So this is going to be a little bit of nostalgia, bringing Quake back to war. She's going to be featured in quite a few fights. And, of course, you got Claire. She'll be featured as well. And, of course, we have Medusa. She will have her role in a couple of fights that you'll see. And I kind of referenced one of those fights in the last war video there. Get an idea what fight I'm going to be using her for. That one's going to be a doozy, so look ahead to that. But once again, Protect is the global. Like I said in the last video, we've faced this pretty much every war so far. So the opponent, they were shorthanded defensively in our particular BG. They only placed 9 sets of defenders, so tier 1 was pretty bare. So my first opponent is going to be Mysterio. So we're just going to use Quake. Of course, Mysterio is immune to ability accuracy reduction, so that's why there are no concussions, but he's not immune to aftershock damage or my evades. So it's just going to be a simple Quake fight. We're not going to make this fight more complex than it could be if I had used Medusa or Claire. It's doable with either one of them, but I figured since I'm going to be using Quake quite a bit, might as well get refamiliar with my Quake and Shape because it is a little rusty. I mean, obviously, I don't really bring her to Alliance Quest that often because she's useless against the Apocalypse boss. When Doom was the boss, I brought her quite a bit, but Apocalypse has that thing where you evade him and then there's a 10% chance that adds on top, that stacks, that you're less likely to evade. So he's pretty much Quake proof. So I really don't bring her to Alliance Quest, unfortunately. And of course, these side quests, event quests, I don't really bring her as often. I'll have her on the team in case I have a crappy boss that I can just Quake and get rid of. So, but here's our second Quake fight. Now, because I normally use Havoc for this fight, but I really couldn't afford to bring Havoc because it was a purpose why I brought all 3 of the ladies. So I used to use Quake again quite a bit on the Flow War, especially when Nick Fury was the opponent on this node. But when Stubborn came, you couldn't really Quake and Shape because every time you Dex, Stubborn kicked in. And you can work around that in his first life, but when you get to his second life, it's just going to make things very difficult. But here, I could just Quake and Shake. And that was part of the reason why I used her for that Mysterio fight, so that way I could get used to Quake and Shake. So I have one Quake fight under my belt before I get to the higher degree of difficulty in this particular fight. And there's going to be one more fight that's going to challenge Quake and Shake. So the idea here is just simple. Just to refresh, if you guys haven't saw my previous videos, when you hold your heavy, she's going to automatically evade the first attack that comes in, and then you have to manually dex the second hit. So the opponent, they're going to mix up their combos to throw you off. So you either going to see a 2-hit combo, and the only way you're going to get a 2-hit combo, assuming it's not interrupted by a stun, the only way you'll get a 2-hit combo if they do a double medium. So that's pretty easy to Quake and Shake. You just Quake, evade, auto evade the first one, dex the second. Of course, sometimes they'll do a 3-hit combo where they'll either do a medium, and if it's a 3-hit combo, it's going to be a medium, light, medium, 99% of the time. Well, really, pretty much 100% of the time, unless it's an interrupted combo, um, like they get stunned. So, so what you have to do is recognize what that second medium attack looks like. So in Nick Fury, it's that overhead gunshot. That's his second medium. Um, so that way, if he does a 3-hit combo, you can recognize that, and you can be prepared to hold heavy again to be able to quake and shake the next combo that they go after. Of course, 4-hit combos can be medium, light, light, medium, or it can just be 4 straight light attacks. So, and that's pretty easy. You can just evade dex. And then you have the 5-hit combo. Of course, the 5-hit combo can either end with a heavy, or not a heavy, it can either end with a light attack, which will be a 4th light attack, or it'll end with that second medium. So, of course, Nick Fury's 4th light attack is that other gunshot that comes from underneath. And you've seen that at times. But the only way that that comes about is either a 4-hit light all combo or a 5-hit combo ending with a 4th light. So it's all about just recognizing the last hit of the combo for each opponent. So next fight, we're going to quake again. So 3 straight quake fights. And again, we're just going to keep it simple. We're just going to quake and shake. Now this one also has ability accuracy reduction on the node itself. So what that means that that crumbling armor is going to kick in for me. Now Magneto, he has a pretty quick second medium. So I guess I haven't quake and shake against him very often. But again, I mean, it's once you quake an opponent the first couple of times, you'll get used to their animation. Of course, you got the duel mechanism. You get 5 free duels a day. So you can use that to practice quaking against certain opponents. And of course, you have to use your duels wisely. So if you want to quake a different opponent, you can save it for each day of the week. Or you can just find quest that has that particular opponent in that path and just practice quaking for that particular fight. You can use a 3-star quake or something. So here we go. This is the first non-quake fight, and we have Medusa. I could have quaked this fight too, but say, hey, we brought Medusa. She shuts down robots, so why not? Let's use her for this fight. So we got a nice intercept from the jump. And we're going to go ahead and shatter this guy, shut him down. All right. So even though the protection came back, normally when the protection comes back, it gets rid of all the debuffs. But because he's a robot and he's completely shut down, it shut down that aspect of this node. And I didn't know that going into it. For some reason, I thought after the armor shatter was just gonna wear off and he was just going to shrug it all off, but he didn't. So it ended up being a pretty quick fight there for Medusa. Got a little backdraft in the corner. So much shorter than a quake fight. All right, next fight here, I believe we're gonna use Quake for this one. Quake has a very interesting interaction with Nova. Again, that concussion is ability accuracy reduction. So Nova, of course, he gains power when he dashes at you, but when you're quaking, when you have that concussion active, when he dashes at you, he is not gaining any power. Of course, his Nova charges are increasing, but it's irrelevant against Quake because you're not gonna get hit. I think when he gets to 100, he does have an unblockable phase if he doesn't have a concussion active, but if you're not getting hit, it doesn't matter if he's unblockable. So this fight's going to be a little bit longer because it is ebb and flow intercept. Of course, we're not going to intercept this fight. We're just going to quake the whole time. So as a result, this fight's going to take a little longer. And now, of course, I had the concussion active when he got his 100 charges. So as a result, he did not gain the unblockable. But again, he's not hitting me. It doesn't matter. Now, I will say that this fight, Actually, I don't think it was this fight. I think it was the last Quake fight. It was when my finger fatigue started to kick in because you have to condition your fingers. And I'm not the traditional mobile game player. Most people play with two thumbs, but I like to play with my thumb on the left hand, but my right hand, which is my dominant hand, I like to use my index finger. So when I'm tapping the right side of the screen, it's always with my index finger. So it's kind of like a non-standard grip, but there's some people that play that way. But yeah, but we're doing a pretty good job with the timing here. Even if it was a 3-minute timer, I mean, it would get kind of sketchy as far as timing out. But these 5-minute timers make it to where the ebb and flow fights, you don't have to worry about the timeout factor. So if you don't want to intercept or if you don't want to knock down the opponent, you're totally fine. I mean, obviously, you want to try to make the fight shorter to make it to where you have less mistakes. But if you're confident in what you're doing, it really doesn't matter. So, but we got him in Assassin's range now. Unfortunately, it does not add any bonus to the aftershock damage for Quake. So it's going to be the same scale all the way through. But one more aftershock cycle should do it. No, I guess one more. He is healing a little bit from that willpower, so it's really the aftershock charges that are killing him more than anything. And he's down. All right, next fight is gonna be a Nihilist. Now again, I could have quaked this fight, but Black Widow Clairvoyant is kind of lonely, so we're gonna use her. We're not gonna have her. We're gonna make sure she had a Valentine today as well. So we're gonna apply the dashback light counter, and I just took a shot right in the face. I guess just want to wake her up. But we did get an intercept there. If there's a silver lining. All right. And dashback light counter. Now we're gonna go to the incinerate mode. And I don't know what I was trying to do. I think I was trying to intercept, but I should have just parried and just did the SB2. But I think I was trying to intercept actually. When I just looking at it, I was trying to intercept there, but he didn't have his cosmic rod up, so I could have parried and just went straight to the SB2. But I was really just trying to kill him. I was trying to intercept and go to the SB2, but haste makes waste, right? I just talked about you don't have to rush. But now that I got the armor break debuff, I'm gonna just use this opportunity to heal myself with willpower. And plus I have her SB1 if I want to heal myself, which I just changed to that stance now. All right. And we're gonna dash back light counter. Dash back light counter. Again, this is a technique you can use against several opponents. If you see me use it against Killmonger, if you see me using it against Domino, Annihilus is another one of those defenders that you can do it against. There are others. You can do it against Apocalypse as well, but you have to be very quick and a little bit more precise. But it is possible to do it against Apocalypse too, for those who struggle against Apocalypse. All right, so this is gonna be our last Quake fight of the war. Now this one is going to be a marathon, and it's gonna be good that I use my boost here. And the reason why I'm using the 6-hour boost, I believe this is right before. I want to say this is right as I'm waking up the next morning and anticipating that everybody else is not up yet. So I want to boost up. Didn't want to waste multiple 20% regular boosts that only last an hour if everybody's not up yet. So I'm just going to use a 6-hour boost. That way by the time the rest of the side is ready to clear, I'll still be boosted. So we're just going to do just like we normally do, Quake and Shake. And the fight, like I said, it's not going to be as long as the Havoc fight, but it's gonna be a point in time where it does get a little tricky. And the main thing is that when Sasquatch, when he enters Wrath of Tanarak, he becomes stun immune. So even if you're in the middle of stunning him from an aftershock charge, if that Wrath becomes active, he immediately shrugs off the stun. So you kind of have to be mindful of that because you don't know when it's gonna pop up. So it's almost like when Nick Fury goes into his second life, he purifies all debuffs. So in his case, when he enters Wrath of Tanarak, he's purifying stun. So you just have to be ready to quake and shake the next hit. And again, it's all about pattern recognition for the second medium and the fourth light attack. And of course, his is pretty easy to recognize when he does that underhand swoop upwards. That's his second medium attack. So I can know to be ready to quake the next hit. And I do get hit there, but luckily I had concussion active, so I was able to evade the rest of it, auto evade it. So I got a little lucky there. But again, my finger was getting pretty tired at this point. Like I just woke up. So, and you saw that he had shrugged off that parry when he entered Wrath of Tanarak as well. But he is a chunky fellow. He has a tremendous health pool. So again, my finger got tired, so I just dropped my heavy there. But we're almost at the finish line, but it just seemed like this last 18% just takes forever. Because normally, and this is not a protection, no, it's just that he has such a big health pool. It's going to take at least a couple more quake cycles before he's down. But I should get it here. This will be the last one. So we're almost there. And he's down. All right, so I took a little bit of a break after that fight because, like I said, my finger was tired. And the next fight coming up, definitely don't want to have tired fingers. So I did duel this just to kind of get familiar with it. Of course, the thing about Medusa, all of her medium attacks armor breaks, so I don't have to worry about reverb. But there's a thing, like if you armor shatter the opponent, there's a chance you can bleed them. So there was a strategy I wanted to do for this fight. And I probably could have kept doing it, but I messed it up midway through the fight, and it kind of ended up making the rest of the fight more difficult, but you'll see it. And it's pretty, I mean, I kind of thought about it on the fly. Started to use a power boost, but I said, nah, I'm not going to really be throwing SP2s because if I stun the opponent, then it's going to get reflected back on me. So might as well just use my intuition. Because my first thought process, I'm going to armor shatter the opponent, bleed him, use that polka dot power to build my power. And I was hoping it can build me all the way up to SP3. But the way that the power was building, it just wasn't going to happen. So I ended up being a little bit more innovative when it came to power gain. And you'll see it here. So he's armor shattered now. And I'm glad they fixed that bug to where when he's armor shattered that he can still gain that armor. But they got it now to where he's armor shattered and also armor broken at the same time. Because they used to have it where he can still gain that passive armor when he was armor shattered. And that was kind of defeat the purpose of getting rid of reverberations. So you see I have that constant bleed on me. But as you see, like I said, I'm not going to nowhere near reach a 3 bars of power. So I decided to reapply it. Double medium, SP1. He's armor shattered. And for some reason, I just hit into his block when he had a unstoppable passive. And I trusted my intercept instinct there, and I was using the dash back counter, but that kind of shook my confidence there because I don't want to take another combo. And so we go ahead and reapply because my bleed was still active to push me over another bar of power. So we're gonna rinse and repeat. We're gonna do this again. Double medium, SP1. So we got a rhythm. We got a nice rhythm going. We messed up that one time with that combo. And we're not gonna intercept anymore. And for some reason, I stopped doing the dash back light counter because, again, just waking up, so the mental focus wasn't 100% there, but the general concept was. So this is where I mess up. I should have just let the bleed. I should have let the armor expire because I didn't have enough to build up to another bar of power. So now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to use that SP1 the rest of the fight. So now it's just about pure fighting for just raw damage. But it's still doable. I mean, I can still keep up the armor breaks. I just don't have that luxury of the armor shatter for the extended armor break and not having to worry about resetting reverb. Because her light attacks do not break the armor, so it is subject for reverberation damage. And that was a clutch intercept right there. I could have did another one right there, but I didn't want to press my luck, and I got very lucky right there. He could have easily retaliated like he did early in the fight. And I decided to push him over 2 bars of power. Didn't want to have to deal with it SP1. Alright. And because that way I can hit into his block some. And we armor shatter him again, armor break him again, and we barely finished that fight. Now again, could I have used Claire? Could I just brought her instead and dealt with Darkhawk with Quake? Yes, I could have, but I wanted to bring Medusa just to test her out there. I had a feeling that could work, and it did. I just messed up that cycle. So one of the things we're implementing now that I've seen in these upper tier Alliance War videos is have someone, if they can afford to bring it, to bring a white Magneto and apply the pre-fight. So for this particular node, it helps because you can basically, if you have a hero or a hashtag hero or hashtag melee attacker, they gain a, every time you parry the opponent, they get a passive stun that is actually longer than the normal parry. It's like an extra half second. So since it's a passive stun, you don't have to worry about limber. So essentially, you can parry indefinitely if you have a hero or melee attacker. So obviously that's the caveat. You can't just use that pre-fight and have everyone that can indefinitely parry. And there are certain opponents that you'll rather be able to parry on this node because they can be pretty annoying otherwise, like Nightcrawler or MODOK. Like, cause you guys saw in the previous videos, I was fighting Domino. It's less of a stress, and there's others that are not as stressful to fight, like the Spider champs. You can just counter with Venom. But we have certain fights like this where you got the falter mechanic and you got the brute force to worry about. It's good to have that parry. You can get that falter out the way while he's stunned, and then you can just rinse and repeat, because I'm not worried about the brute force, obviously, from Claire's perspective, because I can just regenerate that health back with SB2. And of course, with Professor X, you can only parry his first medium is the only one that makes contact, so you have to parry from a distance, kind of like Yondu. And Domino, and of course, you can parry other Domino attacks, but the first medium is the guaranteed one, assuming you don't have the 15% ability accuracy reduction. So this last fight, I started not to show it, but I mean, because I wasn't scheduled to fight Thing, but unfortunately he did not get one-shotted. But I decided to bring Claire because I figured she's a pretty interesting option. In this off-season, I may experiment fighting her against Thing boss to see if she can one-shot him, because the only hesitation I have is timing out, because her damage output isn't the greatest, but her health sustainability, and you'll see in this fight, is pretty awesome. And of course, Thing is bleed immune, and he's also stun immune, so anytime you apply a buff to the opponent they're immune to, she gains a cosmic charge. Not cosmic charge, but a mystic charge, which gains 4% of her max power. So it's easy to build to SB2. And while I'm in this mode, I can control the rock stats with the bleed mechanic. And this time, I probably should have just did a regular 4-hit combo there, but we'll get it here. I'm gonna hit into the block. And the thing about Claire, I did duel this as well. Her SP2 does 8 hits, so as long as the rock stats are 7 or less, you can do the full SP2 without worrying about him interrupting it with an unstoppable. So again, duel is your friend. Use that to your advantage. Alright, so this time we just do a regular 4-hit combo to push him over to 15 stacks. But as you can see, the health is just very sustainable. I mean, it's not very stressful at all. Like, I'm very much in control of this fight. Like I said, the only thing is the timing. Now, I got hit there, but fortunately I had limber. I think I have it like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. It was a very short parry. So that came in a little clutch there. Right, so hit into his block 4 times, put him 15 stacks. And that parry didn't do anything, so now we're at 100% health again. So again, very, very viable. Now, of course, there are other ways I could increase my damage output in this fight. I could throw my SP3 with those 20 charges, because then it'll hit pretty hard. The more charges you have, it has a higher attack rating. So obviously I could get more damage there. I could throw my SP2 in the fire mode. Now, of course, I won't be able to control the rock stats with her bleed, because as you can see there, when I do that second medium, it gets rid of 2 stacks. But any other mode, poison or incinerate, I can't do that. But if I wanted to one-shot him, I could throw SP2 with the incinerate mode. I could throw the SP3 with 20 mystic charges. So it is possible to one-shot, but I'm gonna experiment this in the off season. I do end up using her for a fight against a normal thing opponent on a similar stun node that you'll see in a future video. But that was a pretty good fight. I believe she can one-shot this, so add that to the another thing boss counter list. But unfortunately, we lost this war. It was a very hard fought. So we're 2-1 on the season at this stage, but stay tuned for more videos to come. Please like, share, and subscribe.